Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this or any other conversation I ignite going constructively over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Sunday's edition of the Doctor Who Daily. It's Doctor Who Day! Let the fanfare commence. Yes, a very, very exciting day, seeing it's the penultimate episode of Season 12. Watch it live. Don't let anyone spoil it for you, because it is absolutely epic, massive, and you're in for some shocks. So, not much other to say, apart from Chris Chibnall may not be on Twitter, but producer Matt Strevens is. So, just remember, they've got people watching Twitter. The feedback is there. They're going back. We've seen the course correction this year. They were listening. They want you to enjoy Doctor Who. So, I want to talk about David Tennant's Doctor. And I've spoken about David Tennant's Doctor many times, but I want to talk about him again, because he's a very, very fascinating Doctor. And I've always tried to work out why he's one of the most popular Doctors, if not the most popular. I think what's amazing with David Tennant is the way that people don't see what his Doctor was. First of all, David's performances were able to embrace every incarnation of the Doctor before him. He does them all without you noticing. He does Hartnell. He does Troughton. He even does bloody Jon Pertwee, for Christ's sake. Don't know why I'm saying bloody. Pertwee was a multi-talented guy and a great Doctor. He does the whole sword fight with the Sycorax on his first appearance. That's so Jon Pertwee, isn't it? He does the whole thing with Tom Baker, the crazy look, and all that. He's definitely more Davison from the classic era than anyone else, but he's embracing them all. But there's this kind of, I think, this wrong idea that David's Doctor was, and that's not really what David's Doctor was. David's Doctor was the darkest Doctor. I've discussed this so many times, but I really want to look at this deeply, a lot more deeply than it's ever been spoken about before. David's Doctor is the darkest Doctor and the vainest Doctor. This Doctor is good looking and he knows it. I'm just brilliant, says it all the time. This is the Doctor who said, I don't want to go. He genuinely didn't want to go. He didn't want to be somebody else. He loves himself. He loves himself at that moment. I had so much more to do. So much more. And he means it. He's so pissed off that he has to save Wilfred because he doesn't want to go. And that's the thing. But if we look at it in a more intelligent, analytic fashion, we see this very early on. He deposes Harriet Jones. And the way he deposes Harriet Jones in a very cruel way, because she does something that he finds despicable. They have promised that they won't come back, but Harriet doesn't believe this, right? She's the Prime Minister. She's got a decision to make, so she shoots them down. An extraordinary hard decision for any Prime Minister to have to do. Now, we keep on hearing discussions throughout the Christmas invasion that is Torchwood ready? They need to hurry up because they have the weapon, right? And Torchwood, I think it must be Torchwood London, shoot the Sycorax down on Harriet Jones's order. But the Doctor doesn't just depose her. There's lots of ways he could have deposed her. He could have put misinformation about her on the internet. There's so many things he could have done. He whispers in someone's ear, and then the news is spread that maybe she's not well. And then the belief in her mind is that she is not well. It's a cruel way to stop someone you feel needs to be stopped. So we already see the Doctor's cruelty. He's very happy. He goes after that and changes his costume, and it's that beautiful song composed by Murray Gold and brilliantly sung. And as we go throughout the season, in fact, his very first episode, New Earth. How many people? How many? Do you remember that? If you're looking for another authority, there isn't one. He's a dark doctor. And this doctor, when you piss this doctor off, no second chances. I'm just that kind of man. So we already know from the Christmas Invasion that this is a doctor that you can't fuck with. This is a doctor you cannot fuck with. And this comes really, really quickly. And then we see it again in that, what episode is it called? When they all become faceless. You know the one with Maureen Lickman, that one, right? With all about people getting sucked into the television. The Gattis episode. Quite a good episode. Some people don't like it. I don't think it's as good as Gattis' previous episode, The Unquiet Dead. I think that's his best episode. Best Doctor Who episode he ever did. And I think kind of upping that was impossible anyway. And so you see his anger then when he knows that Rose is in fact one of these faceless people. But he does it again. He does it again in that in the penultimate episode before the finale, where he does this whole thing. They're in the modern. They're actually on the Olympics. Is it the 2012 Olympics or whatever it is? I can't remember. Right? They're a little bit in the future. So Rose is walking with him, all confident, all bolshy, like Rose was in season 2, quite arrogant and unlikable in season 2, wasn't she? And then she goes, they keep on trying to split us up, but they never ever will. He turns around and he says, quite seriously, never say never ever. He looks in the sky. There's a storm approaching. All of a sudden, Rose loses her smile. He breaks Rose's heart in that moment. This is the darkness. And the Doctor doesn't feel what humans do. So he doesn't really feel what he's done to Rose at that moment. Rose thinks she's impenetrable. She actually has dreams and fantasies about her and the Doctor being together, setting up a house, not travelling. She actually thinks that her and the Doctor will be together. And as vain as this Doctor is and how desperately he never wants to regenerate and become somebody new, we see that with Rose in season 4. So they're both part of this arrogant, vain portrayal, actually. And in season 3, we see him go dark in that Chris Chibnall episode 42. Is it 42? Yeah, because basically he's been infected by the sun, hasn't he, right? And he's got that serious moment. You're right, Doctor. I was only joking. And he's got that serious look. He goes very, very dark very, very quickly. But of course, the famous one that I'll never forget is the Waters of Mars, right? Is it Water of Mars or Waters of Mars? And so he just becomes the Time Lord victorious. This is a moment where Russell T Davies says, fuck it. Excuse me, I've got a really bad cough. So Russell T Davies says, fuck it, because he's leaving. He doesn't have to pretend that this Doctor's light and shiny anymore. He reveals this Doctor for what he is, bruised and battered for everyone he's lost. It's a fixed point in time for those people to die. But he's not having it. So he goes back and he becomes the Time Lord victorious. He saves who he can. But the woman, she ain't having it. She breaks his happy ending and she kills him herself. Then he realizes that he's gone too far. But then we have the end of time where we see him for exactly what he is. He's a very, very vain man who doesn't want to change who he is. And there's this struggle. Even when he's regenerating, you can see it. He's trying to stop it. A lot of people won't notice it. His regeneration lasts a long time. There's quite a few seconds before his face changes to when he becomes Matt Smith, right? The 10th Doctor. Is it the 11th Doctor? Sorry. I'm even getting confused now. We're going to be even more confused. After you guys see tonight's episode, you're going to be even more confused. But anyway. So when you see the other regenerations, especially if you focus on the ones in the kind of new era, the revival, they're pretty quick. Eccleston changes a lot quicker. His face goes a lot quicker to Tennant than Tennant goes to Smith. So this is a Doctor who's vain, who's dark. He has a lot of self-interest and he loves himself. This is the Darkest Doctor, and there's no question about that. And I wanted to go over that again because some people don't agree with me, and I just want to give out my reasons. Now, on the next subject, Moffat hated Rose. Moffat hated Rose. Think about it. Just think about this, right? He writes the two-parter in season 1, right, with the gas masks. Forgot what they were called. That were great two-parter, wasn't it? But the worst thing about this two-parter is Rose. She's so unlikable in this episode. From the moment she turns up in that Union Jack t-shirt, you just want to throw a custard pie in her face. But it's not just a Union Jack. I mean, can you imagine Stephen Moffat walking out with a Union Jack t-shirt? Wouldn't happen. That's not even his politics, right? But anyway. So she becomes a bimbo in this episode, and she sees Captain Jack, and she's all, you know, I suppose she was supposed to be in love with Mickey. She's supposed to be in love with Chris Eccleston's Ninth Doctor, but then all it took was her to meet Captain Jack, and he sweeps her off her feet, right? And she becomes this bimbo. He totally destroys what Davies is trying to do with Rose being this respectable kind of every woman, if you like. And then after those episodes, because Captain Jack remains with Rose and the Doctor for the rest of that season, and the relationship changes. They're friends more than this flirting going on, right? But then Moffat returns for The Girl in the Fireplace, one of the finest pieces of TV you will ever see. But again, he sidelines his nemesis Rose yet again. He sidelines her. He puts her to the curb, and he brings in a new love interest. A love interest that actually works with the Doctor. These two actors, Tennant and this other lady, right, have got more chemistry than Piper and Tennant will ever have. And he literally sidelines Rose as a love interest, right? And what does she do? What did Mickey call himself throughout season 2? The Tin Dog. What does Moffat do? Pairs Rose with the Tin Dog. Just think about that for a minute. So she is sidelined while the Doctor finds this new love interest. But it goes deep. His hatred for Rose gets deeper than that, right? Because the Doctor asks Madame de Pompadour to actually travel with him. So I want you to think about this. Nothing goes wrong. She comes to the TARDIS. What happens to Rose? Rose isn't going to stay there for long. The Doctor isn't even going to give a shit if Rose stays there. He's literally invited someone he's just met, just fallen in love with, to travel with him. He doesn't care that Rose is there. How bad is that? And this is how much he hated Rose, right? Now, Rose was gone by season 3. And I think it definitely, because he was told that Blink, which he was going to write next, was a very Doctor and Martha-like episode, there wasn't really much, so we don't really know how he felt about Martha. I've got a feeling he preferred Martha to Rose, though. So every time he had an opportunity in those 2 seasons, he sidelined Rose or he made her look really bad. Really bad. Moffat hated Rose. It's as simple as that. So, as we wait for today's episode to air, and as you lot wait to watch it for the first time, you wonder what they mean, what Chris Chibnall means by this is going to change everything. We know what's going on here. We know the leaks. But you are on the precipice of something massive that sets out the future of Doctor Who. And what is it going to be? You are going to find out something tonight, but there's a lot more to be revealed in episode 10. That's when the big changes come in. And we know one thing. Doctor Who fans, especially the classic fans, don't like change. This is the situation. This is what's going down. This is what Chris Chibnall is doing. And it doesn't look like he's going anywhere. And I'm just fascinated. Really, there's no excitement for me watching an episode before everyone else. There's no excitement watching it. The most exciting thing for me is that when you lot are watching it and posting on Twitter, and you get the reaction, the mixed responses, because really, since Chibnall's come in, some people have loved it, some people have hated it. It's the same thing. Now, I think he's won a few more people over with his brilliant arc this year. I think the reveal of the Master, and he shows that he gets who the Master is, because Sacha Dhawan's master is absolutely how a master should be. Really, really good. So we know he can do it. But what he is doing in these final 2 episodes is something completely unique, special if you see it that way, or actually the destruction of Doctor Who. The fandom menace won't like anything he ever does. But it's not really about the fandom menace, it's about you. The Doctor Who fans who have bought every box set, every toy, every poster, who live this unique show. And finally, Doctor Who was never supposed to make sense. I see videos saying this plot hole, that plot hole. Torchwood shouldn't come back because how is it going to work? Doctor Who was never supposed to make sense. It's a contradiction. The character of the Doctor is a contradiction. It's supposed to have plot holes. It's supposed to not make sense. This is about a character, right? This is about a character who ran away from his home planet, right? In a spaceship, the TARDIS, time machine, and travelled the world because he wanted to see the world. But what you are going to actually see in these final 2 episodes, you are going to have the truth of the why. Now, one of the things many Doctor Who fans tell me is how they never want an origin story. They don't want the mystery of the Doctor broken. But both Moffat and Chibnall are fascinated by the truth of the Doctor. And Moffat tried in a way to expose some of those truths, and he did. And I think that's interesting that sometimes when he was going to reveal something, he chickened out and didn't. But I don't think Chris Chibnall has the same fear. He's giving our hero, our character, an origin story. We are going to find out the origins of the Doctor, not just the Doctor and the Master. And really, that's all I should say to you, because this is bigger than anything that's ever happened in Doctor Who before. And it's massive. It's massive. It will break Twitter. It will break the internet. There will be heated discussions. People will be blocking each other. And I can't wait for everyone to react to it tonight. I will be on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. I'll be responding to you all. So please come and find me at Movies TV Mad. And let's respond to this big change that's happening to our universe. I'll be back tomorrow with more Doctor Who Daily, because tomorrow is my review of Ascension of the Cybermen. And I can't wait to talk about this episode because I really, really have got a lot to say. I'll see you again tomorrow. See you then. Then we can really discuss this episode fully. I probably won't do notes again. That didn't work last week. The notes did it. I'm just going to... You see, the problem with me is, right, I never remember anything. I've got one of these Swiss cheese brains, so as soon as I watch something, no matter how many times, it just kind of evaporates. I forget character names, really difficult. So I'm really going to have to definitely watch it when it comes on live and watch it a few more times before I actually do record the review. But time is trouble. You've got to find the time to do these things. But we will be here tomorrow together to discuss the episode. And there's going to be a lot to discuss. See you then.